A new federal lawsuit now trying to stop an effort to put Missouri's new congressional map on the ballot. Missouri Attorney General Catherine Hanaway filed the suit today, calling the petition to put a new map up for a vote a dangerous precedent. Our Missouri Capitol reporter Hannah Falcon breaks down the lawsuit.
This new federal lawsuit raises the question on whether the petition to vote on this new map is even allowed. But let's break this down from the beginning. The state's new congressional map would likely send one more Republican to Washington, D.C. It was passed by the state legislature and signed by the governor last month. Governor Mike Kehoe says his office drew the new map.
Or the Missouri First map really does represent Missouri's values, and I hope that Missourians understand we want to be represented in Washington, D.C., where we can make a difference.
If this map goes before the voters, do you think it will pass?
Well, I hope it does, because I think the new map really represents Missouri's values.
A petition is circulating to put the new map on a statewide ballot. Richard Von Glan heads up the group People Not Politicians. He says the petition already has over 100,000 signatures, which is approximately the amount needed. But the Attorney General is trying to stop it in its tracks.
What we really have here are politicians trying to silence voters, which is a little bit what this referendum is all about.
Missouri Attorney General Catherine Hanaway claims it would be unconstitutional for voters to decide on redistricting. She says that power lies with the Missouri legislature, saying the Constitution entrusts congressional redistricting to the people's elected legislator, not activist organizations bankrolled by undisclosed donors.
The states are charged with deciding how all the congressional districts should look.
Southeast Missouri State University political science professor James Newman said she could have a solid case.
Now, what a state decides to do, that's up to the state.
If the People Not Politicians petition is successful, you could be voting on this new map in November of 2026, but now that's only if a federal judge does not block it. Reporting in Jefferson City, I'm Hannah Falcon.